She was just another face in the cleaning crew, quietly mopping the marble floors of the corporate lobby until the CEO heard her speak Mandarin, Spanish, and French with the ease of a native. What unfolded next sent shockwaves through the entire company. At Halberg International, the cleaning staff moved like shadows, present, necessary, but seldom noticed. Not because people were cruel, but because routine breeds blindness. They appeared after hours, pushing supply carts, emptying bins, disinfecting desks. To most, they blended in like white noise or background jazz. It was a typical Monday in the heart of Fort Worth, Texas. The morning air inside the building was electric, with the rhythm of stilettos striking tile, phones buzzing with Slack messages, and the endless murmur of strategy, deadlines, and caffeine-fueled urgency. Jonathan Kellerman, CEO of Halberg International, was making his usual commute from the parking structure to the executive suite on the 18th floor when something stopped him dead in his tracks. A voice, not just any voice, fluid, crisp, and navigating Mandarin with the finesse of someone who lived and breathed it. A voice that carried authority, precision, and calm. Kellerman turned instinctively. Maybe one of the Shanghai team members had flown in early for a strategy session. But no, his eyes landed on someone wholly unexpected. A woman in a burgundy janitor's uniform stood by the digital lobby directory. Her hair was twisted neatly into a short ponytail, her stance composed. She was mid-conversation with an elderly gentleman in a navy coat, whose confused expression softened as she guided him confidently in flawless Mandarin, pointing him toward the correct elevator bank. Kellerman's brow furrowed. He recognized her vaguely, a familiar figure from late nights when he'd passed her in hallways, always silent, always respectful, never making eye contact unless acknowledged first. He'd never once asked her name, but now here she was, translating building logistics in a dialect most Americans couldn't pronounce properly, let alone comprehend. He edged closer. Just as she finished assisting the elderly man, she turned smoothly to a delivery worker with a clipboard. Her voice shifted instantly into Spanish. The man looked surprised, then grateful. Sí, gracias, he replied with a smile. Then, without missing a beat, she pivoted again, speaking in French to a vendor puzzled over mislabeled shipping crates. C'est la mauvaise salle, she said gently, guiding him with ease and a subtle smile. Kellerman felt something tighten in his chest. Not resentment, not even astonishment. It was something far more humbling, a gnawing sense of guilt. He had built a 20-year career in global supply chains, created international partnerships, hired entire translation departments, and launched diversity seminars. Yet under his very roof, the most linguistically talented person he'd encountered in months had been polishing the baseboards of conference rooms. He stepped forward, this time with purpose. "Excuse me," he said. She turned, her expression startled but composed. "Yes, sir? That was Mandarin you were speaking just now." "Yes, sir," she confirmed. "You're fluent?" She nodded. "Yes, and Spanish. French." He blinked. "Any others?" "Portuguese, German, Arabic, Italian, Swahili. I also read Latin, though that hardly counts these days." Kellerman just stared at her. "You're telling me you speak 9 languages?" "Yes, sir," she replied evenly. There was no arrogance, no bravado, just quiet truth. He studied her for a beat. "What's your name?" "Denise Atwater." "Miss Atwater, do you have a few moments to spare?" Her eyebrows lifted slightly. "Now?" "Yes. I'd like a word. In my office." A hesitation flickered across her face. Not fear, but something subtler. That natural instinct people develop after years of being dismissed, overlooked, or patronized. She nodded slowly. "All right." He pressed the elevator button and held the door as she entered. Inside, a soft silence settled. "I've been here 13 years, she said, breaking the quiet as they rose floor by floor. Kellerman turned to her. Never thought I'd be invited up, she added almost wryly. He offered a faint smile. You'd be surprised how fast things can change. What he didn't know, what he couldn't know, was just how dramatically everything was about to shift. Not just for Denise, for him. When the elevator doors opened, Denise stepped out first, her soft-soled shoes silent on the polished wood of the executive floor. The air smelled faintly of citrus cleaner and aged leather, wealth if it had a fragrance. Kellerman's assistant looked up, eyes wide with confusion at the sight of a janitor beside the CEO. He gave no explanation, just gestured for her to let them through. In his glass-walled office, he motioned toward the chair across from his desk. Please, have a seat. She sat gracefully, folding her hands in her lap. Her eyes scanned the room. Not impressed, merely curious. A world map covered one wall, marked with multicolored pins. On a side table sat a tray of espresso cups, a photograph of two daughters, and a forgotten award from Brussels gathering dust. Kellerman settled into the chair opposite her. He leaned forward slightly. Denise, I'll be candid. This wasn't a conversation I ever expected to have. She nodded, her posture calm, her face unreadable. But I just watched you speak 3 languages like you were flipping light switches. And I need to know, how does someone like you end up here? Mopping floors. She was silent for a moment. Then her gaze shifted to the window before returning to his. You want the real answer? I wouldn't have asked otherwise. She exhaled softly, rubbing her palms together as if gathering her thoughts. I was born in Toledo, Ohio. Only child. My father was a pipe fitter. My mother worked as a nurse's aide. They didn't have much, but they believed in education like it was sacred. She paused. I got a full scholarship to Kent State, studied linguistics. I was halfway through my master's degree when my mom got sick. I came home to take care of her. Then my dad died of a stroke 6 months later. Everything unraveled. She tilted her head, sorting through the timeline like old files in her mind. I had a baby, no money. The father didn't stick around. I took whatever jobs I could get. Grocery stores, nursing homes, temp agencies. Eventually, a janitorial supervisor here offered me night shifts. It allowed me to be there for my daughter after school. Kept the lights on. Kellerman listened, unmoving, eyes fixed on hers. But I never stopped learning, she said. I borrowed library textbooks, played foreign news radio while I cleaned, read newspapers in 5 languages. It's the one thing that still makes me feel like I matter. There was no tremble in her voice, no dramatics, just the raw, unvarnished truth. Most people don't ask, she added after a pause. They see the uniform and assume. That final word lingered, echoing in the quiet. Kellerman sat back, her story pressing on him like weight. She cleared her throat. Look, Mr. Kellerman, I'm not sharing this to guilt-trip anyone. I'm not bitter. Life happened. I adapted. I still do. But you asked, so that's the truth. He exhaled slowly. Denise Atwater was a revelation, not looking for charity, just speaking with dignity. Her story wasn't a plea. It was a statement of existence. Did you ever think about doing something different? He asked quietly. She gave a half shrug. Sometimes, but it's hard to dream when the rent's due. Here's a rewritten version of your text using richer, more expressive language without shortening the content or relying on short words. He asked gently, stepping into the dimly lit hallway. She turned, caught off guard. You came down here? He offered a half smile. I couldn't stop thinking about our conversation. A pause. I need a favor. She instinctively wiped her hands on her shirt, eyes narrowing slightly. What kind of favor? There's a meeting upstairs. The team from Sao Paulo arrived earlier than expected, and our translator bailed at the last minute. Could you step in? She paused for the briefest moment. Portuguese? He nodded. "I can do that," she said quietly. Minutes later, they entered conference room 4C. Four Brazilian executives sat stiffly, eyes glued to their phones. Denise stepped in quietly, nodded, and began speaking fluid, poised Portuguese. Kellerman stood back and watched in awe. The atmosphere in the room shifted almost immediately. Tense shoulders relaxed, attention sharpened, eyes lifted. She wasn't merely translating, she was connecting hearts across language. She made people feel acknowledged. When one of the visitors cracked a joke in Portuguese, Denise met him with a warm laugh and a witty reply that had the room in laughter. Kellerman didn't comprehend the words, but he understood something deeper: human connection. After 20 minutes, the meeting concluded. One of the executives turned to him and said in clear English, "She's the best we've worked with this year. Where did you find her?" Kellerman glanced at Denise, who was already clearing the used coffee cups onto a tray. "Right here," he replied. Back in the hallway, he caught up with her. "Have you ever done translation professionally?" She shook her head. "Just helped out where I could. Hospitals, government buildings, wherever someone needed a hand. No certificate, no time for school," she replied, brushing back a strand of hair. "My daughter needed me more." "And where is she now?" "She's 26, a nurse in Tempe, paid for her education herself. Stubborn, just like her mama." They shared a quiet smile, and for a brief moment, they weren't CEO and janitor. They were just two parents talking about life. She returned to the service floor, swiped her badge, and clocked back in. Two more floors waited before her shift ended. But just before she turned away, she looked over her shoulder and said something that lingered in him. "I didn't do anything special today." He raised his eyebrows. "That's not how it looked to me." She gave a modest smile, then turned and walked off. That night, Kellerman sat in his car for a long time before turning the key. His thoughts ran deep about the relentless push for growth, the boardroom meetings, the performative discussions around diversity and talent acquisition. They'd been searching across oceans, investing in headhunters, desperate for innovation. But sometimes, he realized, the real gold is buried right under your feet. And once you finally see it, the only question left is, what will you do about it? The next morning, Denise's badge beeped earlier than usual. She had just finished wiping down the east lobby when her supervisor, Ron, tapped her shoulder. His face wore an expression that wasn't annoyed, but wasn't quite ordinary either. "Hey, Denise, Mr. Kellerman wants to see you again." She blinked. "Did I do something wrong?" Ron shook his head. "He didn't say. Just told me to send you up." She cleaned her hands on a towel and retraced the same hallway she'd walked the day before. Only this time, something had changed. People turned to look. Some whispered. One of the receptionists even gave her a polite, knowing smile, like she knew something Denise didn't. She stepped into the executive suite. Kellerman stood near the tall window, sipping black coffee as he looked over the skyline. "Come in," he said without turning. She stood quietly by the door until he faced her. "I've been thinking," he began, placing his mug gently on a coaster, "about wasted talent, about how many capable people never get a shot, not because they're unqualified, but because no one bothers to take a second look." Denise said nothing. Praise never came easy to her. It often carried a hidden cost. "I want to create a new role," he continued, "something this company desperately needs, even if we didn't realize it until now." Her brow furrowed slightly. "What role?" "Cultural liaison for international affairs. Someone who understands language, nuance, communication. Someone who can navigate visitors, documents, vendors, every global connection we struggle with." Her lips parted, but no words came. "You're more qualified than most of the people already on our leadership team," he added. "You've already demonstrated intelligence, grace, and patience under pressure." She narrowed her eyes. "Is this real?" As real as it gets, he said firmly. I don't have a college degree. You have something better. Experience, dedication, fluency in 9 languages. Do you think I care about a piece of paper? She shifted her weight, still unsure. Why me? Because I watched you solve 3 different problems in 3 different languages, all before 9 a.m. yesterday, he replied. And because I'm tired of walking past people who do double the work for half the recognition. She crossed her arms. You know people are going to talk. I don't care. She studied him, long and hard, then exhaled slowly. I've never had an office job, she said. Never even had a title. You'll learn fast. I don't have clothes for this kind of role. I'll have HR send a clothing stipend. A dry laugh escaped her lips. You've thought of everything, haven't you? I'm trying, he said sincerely. A long silence fell between them. Then, in a quieter tone, she asked, what about my shift downstairs? Who replaces me? He smiled gently. We'll find someone, but no one can replace you. She looked down at her hands, then back up. You're sure this isn't just a handout? He shook his head. It's a recognition, long overdue. She bit her lower lip, eyes glistening, but the tears didn't fall. All right then, she said at last, her voice steady. Let's see what I can do. He extended his hand. She took it. It wasn't just a handshake. It was a moment that rewrote a story. But what neither of them anticipated was how the building would react. By Wednesday, word had spread faster than the elevators. Denise Atwater, the night janitor, had been promoted to an executive position. No one knew the full story, just fragments. That she spoke multiple languages, that the CEO had handpicked her, that maybe, just maybe, she had a hidden past. Government work, CIA, who knew? Gossip flared like a match in a dry forest. In the break room, 2 marketing assistants leaned close over their kale salads. I mean, seriously, one whispered. I've got a master's in international business and have been waiting 2 years for a promotion. She was cleaning urinals a week ago. Her friend shrugged. Maybe she knows something we don't. Oh, please, it's Kellerman trying to look progressive. Just checking a box. That same tension trickled into boardrooms, Slack messages, and awkward glances. People weren't used to seeing promotions that didn't follow the ladder. Denise felt it the moment she entered her new office on the 12th floor. It was modest, just a desk, a plant, and a computer she hadn't yet touched. But to her, it might as well have been another world. After HR finished onboarding her, she asked if she could keep her night uniform. Not to wear, just to remember. Later that day, she had her first meeting with Victor, head of international operations. He entered briskly, clipboard in hand, jaw tight, didn't shake her hand, didn't sit. So, he said flatly, you're the new liaison.